Thank you, Mike, and it is my pleasure to be here and welcome all of you to tonight's event. I'm very blessed to have a board of trustees that I can't tell you how impressive it is to me the way our board participates in events and activities on the campus. And tonight, we have one of our trustees here, and I'd like her to stand to be recognized, Ms. Terry Hanlon. I'm really pleased you're here. And is the mic picking me up okay? Everybody? Yeah, that's what I think too. Let's try that and see if it works better. Okay, good. I do have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, and I'm going to get to that in just a couple of seconds, Mike, but I got to take some opportunity here. When I was looking over the agenda for tonight and the event and the sponsorship and the Older Learning Center, and then I saw that we were targeting folks 50 years or older, I was highly insulted. I am just shy of 60, and I have no idea your circumstances for being here and what you're trying to learn, but I have to share with you what's happened to me in the last 5 or 6 years as a professional person. I had worked the job previous to this job, the job previous to that was Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I'd been there 22 years, tenured faculty member. It doesn't get any better. Here I am, I'm set up, and I'm going to stay there for the rest of my life. And the itch of leadership always gets in my way of my life plans, I guess. And I was recruited to Westmoreland Community College to be the president there. And at 55, thinking that you've got all your affairs in order. I knew where I had my hair cut. I knew the person who cut it. I knew where I loved to get my lunch every day. I loved the golf course I played. I loved our house. And, I was set professionally to stay until they took me out in the box, if that's what I wanted to do. But the itch of something different kept getting in the way. So I make the move to a presidency, and it was the most traumatic, emotional, how can I be doing this? Don't sell the house, Karen. In the next 4 years, I became alive, truly. A Steve that I had lost somewhere in my 40s, I think, as far as the juice, the sense of I've got something here and this is great and I'm just going to go for it. And then, how does God interfere? I don't know, but he led me to this, what I call capstone experience, being the president at Grand Rapids Community College. And what was so nice about that, I'd already gone through all the hard part of making an adjustment. Because that is so difficult when you've got it all set in your mind and then things change. So coming here was easy. I was coming here now for this, I think, grand presidency, and I'm so fortunate to be here, to be working at this outstanding institution. So I don't know if there are any messages in there for you, but for me, it certainly has been an acknowledgement that all of the skills and the wisdom and experience that I gained in the first 35 years of my career, and many times you don't even know why you're having these experiences as you're going through a career. But I certainly have applied many, many things I learned previously to the Westmoreland Community College experience and to the experience I'm having right now. And it's like a new life. It's like a new career. So, okay, I'm an older learner, and I'm 59, and I feel like I'm 30. And I just, it's so invigorating. So I hope you all have experienced that or get an opportunity to experience that. So again, that's I wasn't supposed to do any of that, but I just had to share a little bit because I think it's important, quite frankly, what my experience has taught me about taking a risk when you're approaching the older years of your life. You have a very wonderful opportunity tonight. Our speaker, Dr. Harry Moody, Rick, as I understand he'd prefer to be called, is currently the Director for Academic Affairs for AARP. Rick is also the author of over 100 scholarly articles, book chapters, as well as a number of books. Credentials are not too shabby. A graduate of Yale in 1967 and a PhD in philosophy from Columbia University in 1973. He's taught philosophy at Columbia, Hunter College, New York University, and the University of California at Santa Fe. We have with us tonight, I think, a person that really understands this topic, probably will present it in such a way that I have no clues about you, but I think you're probably a pretty engaging guy when you don't want a podium, you don't want a microphone. Let me just get up and work with folks. I mean, it truly is our pleasure and my pleasure to introduce Dr. Harry Moody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I do have a background in philosophy, and so I like to quote the great philosophers, and I'm going to quote two of them. One is Lily Tomlin, who said, "We're all in this alone." I'm going to come back to that in a minute. And the second great philosopher is Joan Rivers, who said, "Can we talk?" I want you to treat this not as a class. This is not a class. There are no grades. Let's call it a town hall meeting. No. We don't want to use that metaphor, do we? Because the answer to the question, can we talk, might be no. We can yell at each other, we can scream, we can disagree, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, I'm not here to talk about health care reform. I'll answer those questions later, including Medicare Part D or anything else. But I'm here to talk about Michigan, because Michigan is ground zero in the United States for some issues that all of us have to deal with. Ground zero. Very few people in this room, can relate to what the president said. Excuse me, I'm not insulting you. You've given me an opening, which the novelist Isak Dinesen put it this way. She said, "All the sorrows of life are bearable if only we can convert them into a story." And I'm here not to talk about the success narrative, the triumph narrative, the one who takes a risk and then finds his risk vindicated. That is to be applauded and celebrated because it is a valid and important model of aging, insofar as aging means breaking out of our habits. But for many people in this room, and many who are not in this room, they did not decide to take the risk. They were forced into it. And sometimes it takes the form of unemployment, and sometimes it takes the form of caregiving, and sometimes it takes personal illness. It takes many different forms. So I am interested in the story that we tell ourselves, back to Isak Dinesen, all the sorrows of life are bearable if only we can convert them into a story. And my contention, the message that I have is very simple, and it's summed up in those two philosophers. Can we talk? We better talk, and we better be talking about the reality, which is that we cannot afford a society, an aging society, that does not find ways to make use of the skills, the talent, the human capital that the president is using right here. He's using 35 years of life experience, and he represents human capital, our most valuable resource. But so do you, each in a different form. And therefore the question, we're all in this alone? No, I hope not. I hope not. So that's really my theme, and what I'm going to be talking about is a variety of things. We're going to come back to AARP. I'm not primarily here to tell you about all the great things that AARP is doing. Jacqueline Morrison, by the way, who's sitting right here, who's the head of AARP for the state of Michigan, can tell you a lot about those. And I am hoping that as we go along, she and others in the Aging Network will stand up and talk from their experience. I can talk all night, as Mike will tell you, okay? That might or might not be good. Remember that I come from a professorial background where I had a captive audience and all the rest of that. That's not what is of interest to me. What is of interest to me is how we can talk tonight about some issues that really are of national importance. For better or for worse, you're at ground zero. I could be having this conversation in Detroit, and it would be, if anything, even more threatening. We have been living through, in the United States, a bad dream over the last year. It's just about 1 year. We had this, quote, celebration, anniversary, commemoration, whatever word you want to use, a couple weeks ago of the collapse of Lehman Brothers, which launched us, as you well know, here in Michigan into the greatest economic downturn since the Great Depression. And you were at ground zero because your unemployment rate is the highest in the country. And what you're hoping, I realize this is not an automobile manufacturing plant here, but what you are hoping, what we are hoping, we're all not in this alone, is that it was just a bad dream, and we're soon going to wake up and things will go back to how it was before. Life will go back to normal. Maybe. People are shaking their heads no, because not everybody falls into the habit of magical thinking, the belief that the fairy godmother or the stimulus money or something else will come along and take care of all of our problems. We have been through an unmitigated disaster, and somebody told me, was it Ben Bernanke, that the recession is over. Reminds me of something a friend of mine who used to work for the Budget Bureau of New York City said to me. I was negotiating for some money or something, and he said, Rick, he said, when they tell you there's no money in the budget, it means there's no money in the budget for you. It doesn't mean there's no money in the budget. Okay? So somebody may be doing better, but if you look at the chart here in terms of the foreclosures, you can see the West Coast, the Southeast, and then, of course, the Midwest, Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan! Here we are in Michigan. Some of this has been disguised by the stimulus money, and in my opinion, Mr. Obama has not gotten, Congress has not gotten the credit they deserve for shielding people from the true impact of this, but it's coming. If not next year, then the year later, because we've been shielded from this. And at that point, you'll all be getting on buses to Lansing. If you can afford the bus fare, if your 401k plan has not become a 201k plan, as mine has. And so a lot of our image of the future, I'm going to be eligible for Medicare in a few months. And I'm one of those people who did everything right. I followed the rules, asset allocation, you know, all of that stuff, diversification that they tell you to do. But guess what? It didn't work. It didn't work. Real estate doesn't always go up. And so we asked the question, why me? How could this happen to me of all people? Where did my money go? I used to get those statements from Fidelity or Vanguard or TIA or whoever's sending the statements. There's the money, and then it's not there anymore. How could this happen to me? It's all about me. Me, 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 me. You know the story of the narcissist who says, well, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think of me? We are vulnerable as long as we're operating from this standpoint, that we're all in this alone. And part of my message for those of you who have to leave early, or maybe you OD on what I have to tell you, it's not all gloom and doom, by the way. I end on a positive note. The great novelist Kafka once said, there's always hope, except for you. Well, no. We need to find realistic hope, but we will not find it as individuals. We will only find it in collective action of some form. It doesn't necessarily have to take the form of government, but it has to take the form of something beyond me. And we're going to be talking about social networking, we're going to be talking about lifelong learning, and we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, because there is a sense in which you are now responsible. And the tooth fairy is not going to come to bail you out. And if you're like me and you wake up in the middle of the night and you worry because, you know, retirement is right around the corner, not now, 5 years, 10 years, et cetera, maybe you have time for the market to come back. Maybe the automobile industry or whatever industry, steel case, whatever, it's going to come back. Maybe good times are going to be around. And as I said, they tell us, that guy Bernanke, he's a professor at Princeton, wasn't he? Big shot, economist. We're projecting a turnaround. Is that pointing at me, the arrow there? And you can hear a lot on the media that will tell you this, and that will tell you that, and that will howl and shriek and scream. And I'm not just talking about that guy in the upper left, although he's a great screamer. Okay? So you are very vulnerable because you've got a lot of stuff coming in at you, a lot of information, and you want to believe, I want to believe, that things will soon, the bad dream will soon be over. We're going to wake up from this bad dream and we'll go back to normal life. It'll be like the way it used to be and the way it's supposed to be. Because in this world, if you play by the rules, if you do everything right, you're supposed to get rewarded, or at least you're not supposed to get punished. I have a friend, I won't tell you her name because you might know it, who is a very prominent leader, very well-educated individual who lost her entire, she's a widow now, lost her entire life savings to Bernie Madoff. When I saw her recently, I never mentioned that subject, by the way. I knew because she went to the same church as my sister. And I knew it, but I never mentioned it because it was just too embarrassing. It was just too demoralizing. So we talked about cheerful subjects, et cetera, et cetera. How could this happen to me? Educated, somebody who plays by the rules, who does everything right. So of course we're worried, of course we're anxious. We should be anxious. If you're not fearful, you're not paying attention. There are silver linings, and I don't mean to be unduly negative. One of them is that the savings rate is up. We were on an unsustainable course a year ago. Savings rate was virtually zero. Today it's approaching 4%. Boomers, any boomers in this room? Raise your hand. Good, you're here. I'm just a year older than the oldest of the boomers. 10,000 turn age 65 every day. Okay, this is a big wave coming down the pike. We know about you at AARP. You know, that gets a laugh, doesn't it? Somebody said, you know, if they really wanted to find Osama bin Laden, they'd turn it over to AARP and we'd send him a letter on his 50th birthday, right? We know where you live. I went to my college reunion, my 40th reunion at Yale a couple of years ago, and we were all sitting around, a bunch of guys. They were all men at the time, and we introduced ourselves. You know, I said, well, I work for AARP, and we know where you live. Everybody laughed. Then a few guys down the road says, some guy raising his hand says, I work for the National Intelligence Agency, and we really know where you live. We know where you live. By the way, when people ask, how do you know this? The answer is we buy the lists from the motor vehicle department in every state. So forget about that stuff about privacy. You never had it anyway. They just sell the lists. Boomers are going to work longer. They are going to work longer. They've gotten that message. Our surveys at AARP suggest that roughly 75, 80% now say they're going to. Now, will they really work longer? Of course, we don't know. Economists never trust what people say, with good reason. But they've gotten scared, and we've learned some lessons from disaster. Not enough. Not enough. The bankers are back to their old bad tricks. They're now selling, what do they call those, viatical settlements, policies, betting on whether you're going to die, something like that. They can always cook up things. Focus on sustainability. This happens to be a pet concern of mine. This afternoon, Mike remembers we talked about environmental advocacy. We are going to have to pay attention to sustainability, both of the environment, the planet that we're living on, and also of Social Security and Medicare, because those programs will need to be amended. They're not disasters. They're not going to go down the drain, but they do need some attention to be sustainable for the next generation. Otherwise, they won't be there, okay? So these are some of the silver linings, I think, that we've learned. Even though we're in the midst of a horribly raucous debate about health care reform, at one point or another, we're going to face up to it. At one point or another, we're going to come back to it. At one point or another, we're going to deal with it. Reality sets in, working after retirement. That sounds like an oxymoron, working after retirement. But the reality is that it isn't your father's Oldsmobile, your grandfather's Oldsmobile, retirement, et cetera, et cetera. There are lots of reasons why people say they're going to have to work after the conventional age of retirement, but they probably are. And in fact, we even have some evidence on this. Unfortunately, trying to work longer also means that you get counted in the unemployment statistics. Now, you may not know this, but if you've given up, let's say you're in despair, you're just totally, zonko, looking at the ceiling all day long, you're not looking for a job, well, the Labor Department says, hey, you're not unemployed because you're not looking for work. See? So that's the qualification. You've got to be looking for work or say you're looking for work in order to be counted as unemployed. So we got a lot. We don't know how many people are unemployed in Michigan, by the way. Is it 12%? Is it 15%? 20%? I mean, 50%? Who knows? Of course, it varies from place to place. All right. Here's my answer to you. Nobody knows. And why don't they know? Because it depends on how you count them. Very much so. Very much so. So whatever it is, more people 55, 65 years who are looking for jobs, they're going to be more unemployed. Now, the good news, bad news is that we're going to have more of these people. That's you and me, folks. Okay? Part of those 10,000 turning 60 every day. So you look at these figures, they're going to live a long time. By the way, this is called longevity risk. Used to be thought as a good, hey, I'm going to live a long time. L'chaim, you should live a long time. No, no, that's a longevity risk. Because you're going to outlive your money. If you're not scared yet, wake up. It is both, here's the message, here's the bottom line message. It is both, this is the Chinese character for crisis. It is both a danger and an opportunity. It means both in Chinese, I think. I don't know Chinese, all right, but people tell me, Chinese people tell me it means both, all right? And that's how you want to think about what's happening right now. Don't deny that it's a threat, it's a danger, but also see it as an opportunity, not just collectively, but for you as an individual. And that's the key to what I want to tell you this evening, because I'm sorry to give you the bad news, but I haven't had any calls lately from President Obama, okay, nor from Timothy Geithner, nor anybody else like that. I can barely talk to the president of AARP occasionally, okay? So I can't solve these problems, and neither can you collectively. But you might be able to do something about your own situation if you remember my prescription, namely, don't act alone. Don't act alone. I said this before, but being a former professor, I'll say it again because it takes a while to sink in. It's my experience. This is my message to you about how to create the future that you want. I'm not talking about predicting the future. The great physicist Niels Bohr once said, prediction is very difficult, especially about the future. Okay? I'm not talking about predicting the future. I'm talking about creating the future, different thing. And this is what every single person in this room, beginning with me, by the way, needs to be doing all the time, thinking all the time. Number one, realizing that you are in business for yourself. Whether you're lucky, like the president, to have an employer, or like me, have an employer, or not, you can lose your job in a minute. I lost a job once. I was fired. Came as a big surprise. I learned a lot from the experience, though. So, job security, forget about it, as we say in the Bronx. You are on your own. Free agent nation is how one author has described it. And that means you need to think in entrepreneurial terms. Now, we're going to come back to this because it doesn't mean opening a Dunkin' Donuts franchise or blowing your life savings on some kooky idea of going into business with your brother-in-law, whatever it may be. Lifelong learning. You cannot go to sleep and say, well, I had that, I got a degree, I blah, blah, blah. Forget that. Unless you are very skilled right now in this room on how to use Twitter effectively, or other things like this, and looking at some of the gray heads in the room, I have a hunch that you're probably nearly as clueless as me and need, like I need my 22-year-old son to orient me about technology. Good logic for intergenerational relationships, by the way. We need lifelong learning, and we're not too old for it. I'm going to come back to that because a lot of people believe that they are too old for it, so they don't pursue it, and it just confirms that their belief that they're dumber than ever. Every day, in every way, we get dumber than ever. That's a message we've all received. It's wrong, incidentally. Neurologically, scientifically, it is wrong. But people believe it just the same. Oh, I forgot. I was having a senior moment. Social networks. I'm not talking about being plugged in to Facebook. Not a bad idea. I'm talking about going to church. I'm talking about relying on others. I get by with a little help from my friends. I like that you're shaking your head. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the men in the room, males, people with the Y chromosome. Listen up. Why are there 6 million sperm and only 1 egg? Because the sperm won't ask for directions. That's why we die early. We're not connected. The ladies have to teach us. They write the Christmas cards and all the rest of that stuff. Tell us to go to the doctor when we say, I don't need to go to the doctor. You know this, men. Listen up. These are the key elements that you need for survival. It's not going to be like the past. You're not going to go back. The bad dream is not going to be over and then you're going to go back. We did our conference every year. AARP sponsors a conference on positive aging. In our conference last year in Minneapolis, we had Richard Bowles here at the conference. What color is your parachute? There's a reason why that book is a perennial bestseller. If you haven't read it, get it, because you are probably not in your last career. And by the way, that includes you, sir. You're not in your capstone career. Your encore career still awaits you, even though you don't know what it is. Most of us don't know what it is, because we don't know where we're going. That's okay. We've got to get used to that. The golden age of retirement and early retirement is over. That's what Linda Fisher said. I know her. She works for AARP in Washington. Hey, if AARP says it's probably true, right? You know, credible authority. It is true. Entrepreneurship, the reason why I talk about this, we put on AARP New York and our Office of Academic Affairs and Baruch College School of Business several years ago, a conference on later life entrepreneurship, which was a new idea because mostly when people think of entrepreneurs, you know, start your own business, oh yeah, young people, Steve Jobs in the garage or, you know, that type of thing. Well, this is, again, a completely wrong image. Entrepreneurship is exceedingly important because that's how we create new businesses. This is what the economist Schumpeter called creative destruction. You know all about the destruction part right here in Michigan. You're specialists in that. But the creative part is the thing that comes later because new businesses have to be created. And this is fortunately a secret of American success because every stick has two ends. And part of our problem as Americans is that we want to be self-reliant, not just the men either. We're on our own. You know, I'll do it. I don't need any help, that kind of thing. But the other part of it is the belief that it's never too late to start over. And if you can take that seriously and apply it to later life, you got some real possibilities there. There are lots and lots of older entrepreneurs. How do grandmothers make better home business entrepreneurs? I can tell you a thing or two about that because it has to do with social connections. Probably the main thing that I bring to AARP at age 64 is I was about to say Rolodex, but whatever it is, the fact that I know a lot of people, that I've accumulated a lot of, isn't that right, Mike? And so I realized, I woke up a couple years ago and I said, I know what I've been trying to be all my life. I've been trying to be a connector, a host, somebody who introduces somebody. I thought I was a scholar. I went to Columbia and I got this PhD. That's not what I really am. I'm not even good at that. I'm a connector. And that's one of the things that you can do. Connection, by the way, includes family. These are some of the things that older, the 55-plus entrepreneurs have that younger entrepreneurs don't have. Interesting. Some things get better. You get more connections as you get older. What the president said at the outset is it's the best possible opener for me because he was describing a job of immense job satisfaction. Well, who wouldn't have job satisfaction if you're the CEO of the institution? But guess what? You have to become your own CEO. You have to become your own boss. Even if you work for somebody else, you're still responsible because you can't rely on security. Don't worry about the details here. The bottom line is 65 plus, look at what's going on with self-employment. It's going up, up, up. Now, why is this happening? Why is employment going up as you get self-employment, going up as you get older. One of the reasons has to do with age discrimination, by the way. That's the paradox. Because you're not going to get the job with somebody else. They're not going to give you the time of day in many cases if you put down the year you graduated from high school. Oh, yeah, this is Rick Moody, graduated from college in '67. Oh, boy, going to blow him off. Age discrimination is alive and well, but so is this impulse. This is part of our mythology. We all share a mythology, the American mythology. That's why these movies were so successful. Now, it's not all mythology. This is my point. We've been indoctrinated with a false belief. The false belief is that you lose 1 million neurons a day, right? You're losing it. In my session this afternoon, I started out by saying, right? I said, how many people in this room have had any problem remembering a name over the last 24 hours? You had a problem like this? Raise your hand, right? Okay. Okay. Everybody has this problem. And so, of course, they conclude, hey, I'm older, I'm losing it, I'm having those senior moments, I can't learn, I can't do anything. Well, guess what? It is true that we forget things. I forgot a crucial name of an art, a painting. It was Nicholas Poussin, by the way. And I remember that because I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. I said, oh my God, I've given this lecture before. And I was showing Rembrandt's self-portraits. And I showed, oh my God, how can I not remember his name? It's like you meet somebody at a party and they shake your hand. This happens to me all the time. And you shake your hand, hi, good to see you, haven't seen you in a while. It's part of the pitfalls of being a speaker. You travel all around. But so you might jump to that next conclusion, which says, I'm losing it, it's going, I can't know anything. But that's not what the neurologists tell us. What they tell us is the truth is neuroplasticity. Read the book, My Stroke of Insight. Do you know the book? Anybody read the book, My Stroke of Insight? Read it! It's about Jill Tower. I can't remember her last name. There you go, you're losing me. A Harvard psychologist who had a stroke. She's a specialist in strokes. You heard her on NPR. She was great. And she wrote this book. She had a stroke at age 38 and lost the ability to speak. She lost everything. She spent 8 years and got it all back. I knew a man who at the age of 75, the same thing happened to him. He had recovered the ability to speak again. He forgot all language. How can this happen? It can happen because the human brain has this marvelous capacity that they call neuroplasticity, meaning that parts of our brain can take over for other parts that lose it. And part of that means, and this has been demonstrated, we can go into the details if you like, with rats, but also with human beings. And what it means is that we don't need to panic because we lose some words or memories or things like that. We're not talking Alzheimer's here. We're talking some pretty marginal stuff. And guess what? Elkonin Goldberg, in his wonderful book, The Wisdom Paradox, subtitled, How the Mind Can Grow Stronger as the Brain Grows Older. What a book. What a message. Let me tell you something. I never could give a speech to you like the speech I'm giving now 10 years ago. Why? You might say, well, I didn't know as much. Maybe I knew more. But I was more scared 10 years ago. I'm not so scared anymore. What can they do to me? They won't like me. Okay, so what? That's called the late freedom. It happens to artists. It happened to Rembrandt, happened to Georgia O'Keeffe, Louise Nevelson. They get to a point in life and they say, what the hell? Now, that doesn't mean you're not scared at times. That doesn't mean you don't wake up in the middle of the night. But you've got to realize that what neuroplasticity tells us is that you can learn. If you don't believe that, then lifelong learning makes no sense. It makes no sense because you won't try. And you'll be a couch potato or whatever you are. So we got to believe it. Not because it's a false belief or you got to have faith, but because it's true. Now, we were talking earlier, and I hope, Jacqueline, you'll jump in here because you were talking about making age an asset. How do we implement this? You know, I'm giving you some great thoughts, great speeches. Oh, yeah, I heard Moody, blah, 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 blah. Peter Drucker, a great management consultant, once said, every great idea eventually degenerates into work. Okay? Isn't it true? All right? And all these great theories, blah, 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 neuroplasticity, we're learning, great Moody's optimism. At the end of the day, what do you do to get the job? That's the question you're asking yourself if you're serious. And this is part of the answer. It's not the whole answer, but it's an important part of the answer. And the AARP Foundation has created a work search tool, a self-assessment tool available on computers. We're going to talk about a course called Making Age an Asset, which is available now in 1,600 community colleges all around the United States. But to do this, you've got to look at yourself truthfully. You've got to say, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? We have implemented this program with a company called Ed2Go, which is most people have never heard of, but they rebrand themselves through 1,600 community colleges all around the United States. Not just community colleges, by the way, all kinds of institutions. 1,800, I got it wrong. Don't listen to what I say. Anyway, the point about this is that it's distance learning. They find the best teacher in America to teach Adobe or to teach refrigerator repair or Spanish or whatever it is. These are non-credit courses. And then they make these available, distributed. And we teamed up with these folks in Kentucky, and we negotiated a deal with all 18 community colleges in the state of Kentucky, with the community college system. And AARP Kentucky led the way on this. Patrice Blanchard did this. I give her full credit. It was her, not me. She got tired of going all around the state giving workshops to older workers. Again, Jacqueline, stop me if I misstate this in some way. She said, there must be a better way. Yes, better living through chemistry, through technology. Let's make it work. And so this is what she and Ed2Go designed. And it includes Making Age an Asset because, of course, that software, that material is available. Where is it available here in the state of Michigan? Jacqueline, just... You have it here, right here at Grand Rapids. Okay. Is it part of Ed2Go's course, or... Flyer on the table. Talk about marketing. Man, I got Mike here. This has been a paid announcement by Mike Faber. You just got a raise from the president. He's sitting back there. That's good. No, I'm not here. I'm not shilling for Ed2Go or anything like that. The only reason why we teamed up with them is because we said we need a distribution system that can help us reach the people most in need. Not my colleagues at Yale and Columbia and all of that, but the people who are now out of work and cannot wait a year or two to get reskilled and haven't got the tuition money or whatever else it is. And that's what this is all about. This is part of the curriculum. It's very practical. You know, if you have not been in the job market, you need to know how to write a resume. There are tricks to this. You need to know how to go on an interview, how to do telecommuting, all of these kinds of things. You've got to know this stuff. And if you've been working for somebody else, you probably haven't learned it. Why should you? Why should you? These are some of the kinds of courses that are offered. Yeah, I was trained in medieval philosophy. You will not find medieval philosophy as an offering in Ed2Go, I'm sorry to say. Okay, maybe we'll get to that someday. But right now, you know, as Bertolt Brecht said, first the bread, then the sermons. Okay? So right now we're talking bread. We're talking what people need. Incidentally, I also think there's a place for sermons. You take a look at this course, Genealogy Basics. I got involved in the aging business 38 years ago when I was a graduate student at Columbia by teaching courses on autobiography to retired people, because I said, these people are the best students for philosophy and for thinking about the meaning of life. And I was not wrong. I was right. And it's still true. And that's why people, older people, retired people, they want genealogy. They want to know, how do I fit into the big picture? Where did I come from? Where am I going? How's my family fit into all this? They need that. They want it. That's part of the meaning of life. But we can't talk the meaning of life. This is sort of up and down Maslow's ladder. We got to deal with those basic needs. And that's our priority at AARP and at the AARP Foundation. You want the meaning of life? I'll talk to you about that afterwards. Okay? What's going on right now is a massive reconfiguration of the American psyche. We're all figuring out that the future is not going to be like the past, and so our behaviors, particularly these older boomers, and you're in this room, many of you are in this room, are figuring out how they're going to live differently. And this is good. I realize the paradox of thrift. Yeah, you're not buying as much stuff. The malls will go broke. The economy will go down the tube. The other side of that is you'll have more money to invest. And the economy does not grow without that form of savings. So this is where the paradigm has shifted. And it will continue to shift because most economists that I read suggest that this is not a temporary, this is not the bad dream is over. Now we're going to go back to, you know, living off your home equity loan or borrowing on your credit card or any of the rest of that stuff. We're changing our way of dealing with the world. We're changing our way of dealing with the world, and we should. It's been long overdue. We have to do this as a society. And by the way, whatever happens with cap and trade, climate change, and all the rest of it, we have to do that as a species. Because otherwise, we don't have a future for our children and grandchildren. It's not going to be there, okay? I talked about magical thinking. This is something you want to avoid. Scarlett O'Hara, something will turn up. Yeah, maybe. This afternoon, who was with me this afternoon? Raise your hand. Okay. I'm not going to repeat what I said, but I showed videos of these people. These are real people who won awards, the Purpose Prize. I happen to be a judge in the Purpose Prize, $100,000 each for creating something that would make the world better once they got beyond the age of 60. They got to a point in life and said, wait a minute, is this all there is? It's like the Peggy Lee song. Is this all there is? No, they said, there's something more. This gentleman created something called the greening of black America, organic farming for folks in South Carolina, local markets. This lady has figured out how to protect us from toxins in furniture. You didn't know there were toxins in furniture? She'll tell you. This gentleman is working with ex-cons from Rikers Island, reduced their recidivism rate from 60% to 10% with the people he worked with. They didn't need to do these things. They had plenty of money. They were set. They were like our friend the president, who was set for life with tenure. But there was something that made him, he called it a leadership itch. You don't have to be a leader. You don't have to be a leader. You have to do something that means something to you. And if you do that, you will feel joy. This is the real challenge for the boomers who are coming through. And between 2010, right around the corner, to 2030, which is really the next 2 decades, we're going to have the crucial period of time when we're going to be facing climate change, we're facing Medicare, we're facing Social Security. All of them have to do with sustainability, with the question of how do we ensure that the world our children inherit is a world at least as decent as the world that we've grown up in. And I speak to people of my age, older, younger. This, by the way, is a tremendous opportunity for people in what I call the silver industries, namely financial services, healthcare, retirement housing, and travel and hospitality, because those industries are going to grow tremendously. But to do this, to do any of this, we're going to have to change our paradigm completely. We can no longer think of aging as disease, loss, disaster. We have to think of successful aging. We have to think of older people as productive, contributive. And last, we have to think of conscious aging. Successful aging does not mean, you know, when I was chairman of the board of Elder Hostel, I once got a letter from a lady who complained to me, 80 years old. She complained to me that our insurance policy didn't cover bungee jumping. Okay? You know, there are people who want that, right? That's not successful aging. That's off the charts, off the top. There are people like that. I've met them, okay? But to be successful aging means doing something simple, like this DigiWalker that I'm wearing here that Bob Butler gave me. 5,500 steps. Mike, I'm not doing too well. Need to pick it up. You wonder why I'm walking back and forth here? That's the answer. I got to get more steps on my DigiWalker. Otherwise, I'm going to feel guilty. And we know that, as the great philosopher Irma Bombeck said, guilt is the gift that keeps on giving. So I got to do it, okay? But it's not just guilt. It's a matter of health promotion. It's a matter of social connectedness, productivity. We can't have a society in which people spend 30 years on the golf course or 30 years just hanging out. Right now, I know the unemployment is a disaster, but look 5 years into the future, we're going to need those aging boomers in some form or other, and they need to believe in themselves. This was a cover story on Business Week. Old, smart, productive. Better news than you think. I know the reality of ageism. We know it at AARP. We file lawsuits against it. We often lose. We give awards to best featured employers, right? We try. It's an endless struggle. You got to work on it on your own. That's why Work Search is all about. That's what it's all about in terms of. The trends are positive in the sense that early retirement really ended about 15 years ago. This is not a tenable future, okay, even before the economic downturn. It is not your grandfather's retirement. John Glenn, who went into space in his 70s, is maybe the metaphor for us. All of us are going to be reinventing. Have you given much thought to what kind of job you want after you retire? It's not a joke. It's not, I mean, it looks like a joke now, but, you know, it's like a few years ago when they had that cartoon in the New Yorker of two dogs sitting in front of a computer, and one dog says to the other, you know, the great thing about the internet is that on the internet nobody knows you're a dog, okay? That was a kind of a joke in the early years of the internet. Now people, hey, you know, it's the internet, you can, you know, make up identities. Ditto for this. Looks like a joke, but it's not. I had to make some adjustments. Your new retirement date, 2065. Unfortunately, that's much less than a joke. If we take a late retirement and an early death, we'll just squeak by. This humor is telling us something, right? Calling Dr. Kevorkian, I don't know. This is telling us something. The world is changing. It's not going to be like what you thought it was. It's not going to be like what you thought it was. It's going to be different. So this is really my message to you, that America's aging workforce represents a change. It's not going to be the way that it was in the past. It's going to be very different in the future. And you see that huge growth there. This is the opportunity in the years ahead. This is the opportunity. This is what we have to pay attention to. And there will be shortages. They may not exist right now, but we can predict that demographically. They'll be out there, and those are opportunities for people. They will not be there unless you reinvent yourself. They will not be there unless you reskill, unless you learn. And this is what has to be done for us to reinvent retirement. People have lots of different reasons for planning to work longer, but they will work longer. Here are some of the reasons. Stay mentally active, stay physically active, be productive and useful, do something fun. Need health benefits, help other people. How about need money? Let's put that one high up there. That's the Michigan one, okay? This differs in different parts of the country and for different groups of people. Remember what I said? Crisis, danger and opportunity. Danger and opportunity. It's both. The employers, some of them, recognize that older workers have virtues. Some do not. I'm not sentimental about this. They recognize that there are real problems. In the TV interview that they did with me today, the interviewer asked me the question, don't older workers cost more? Yes, they do, for insurance purposes. But they also have other assets. Every stick has two ends. There is a business case. We work on this very actively. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because this is not an employer group. But this is very much part of what Deborah Russell, my colleague who heads the workforce group at AARP, is concerned about. And we work with the conference board and lots of other people. We have lots of resources. If you don't find them here tonight, or if Jacqueline can't be helpful to you right here in Michigan, we have other resources in Washington, D.C. That's why we exist. AARP exists for this purpose. So my answer to the original question, where are the new ideas? They're not really in Washington or in Lansing. They got to be right here. New ideas for an aging society. This, by the way, is where we started. So this is where I'm going to end for the time being, but I'm now going to raise the Joan Rivers question. Can we talk? Thank you.
If there are any questions for Dr. Moody, we have time. We have about 10 minutes. So anyone have a question? I have a microphone. No questions.
Or a problem.
A problem.
Something that I said that doesn't make sense.
An
doesn't
issue.
work. Hey, you don't have to. Okay, go for it. Somebody's got to be first.
By the way, well done. I don't think I need this, but
Give it a try.
okay. I'm a transplant back from Northern California, and I'm wondering, pinch me, why did I move back to where I grew up, by the way?
This is the heartland.
Right, and I know the networking is really important, and I had quite a few friends back west. And I don't know. Grand Rapids is a huge city. It's even larger than the Bay Area.
Yeah.
San Francisco, and I've said that. You've been.
I
Many people have been to the West Coast.
I used to live in
San
the Bay
Francisco.
Area. I spent a year at Santa Cruz.
I love Santa.
I know.
But anyway, however, Grand Rapids is huge.
Yeah.
It's big.
It's big. They know it's big, and it is big.
Do you have a recommendation for somebody who is, redefining their
We're
social networks?
not going to go back to the old hometown. You can't go home again. We're not going to go back to the place where you knew people and were connected already. Okay? So you have to invent new ways. That's why I put social networks up there as the key thing.
By the way, they all move.
They all move too.
They all moved out west or to Arizona. I mean,
Right.
they all live here.
Right, they're always moving. Okay, that's the American story. But also part of the American story, really, you talk to foreigners, they'll tell you Americans have a genius for getting to know one another quickly. Tocqueville noticed this when he wrote Democracy in America in 1830. Really, that's our strength. Our weakness is that sometimes the relationships are a little superficial. But in terms of social networks, you know, you join the local church, you get onto the Facebook page, you go to the bar. I mean, there's a million ways to connect. I'm not recommending anybody.
No,
Okay.
right. No, and you're right about that. I do not. Actually, I do know what to do.
You know what to do. It's sort of like the.
Getting out there is not.
I know. It's sort of, we were talking about the weight loss problem. And you know what to do, but you actually need a group to help you do it. You know, when I teach fundraising, by the way. That's one of the things I do. I do pro bono. I don't get paid for it. Consulting on fundraising. And I tell boards, don't send people alone to ask for money because they're scared. Everybody's scared to ask for money. Send them in at least a group of 2 so they can help each other. See? So, of course we're scared to meet new people. Of course we are. So you need help. I get by with a little help from my friends. So, yeah, it's doable, but I don't say it's easy. It's not easy. We learned this in Making Age an Asset. That was the title of the course. Man, people would come in. They'd be scared. I haven't been in a college classroom. They're scared. You're going to say something stupid. You're not going to use the computer correctly. All of those things. So, yeah, I'm not minimizing that at all. Not at all.
Doctor?
Please, call me Rick. Dr. Moody is a podiatrist. I don't know him. Okay.
Dr. Rick.
Yeah, like Dr. Phil or something like that, a TV star, right?
I'm not afraid of meeting people.
No, I didn't think you
Never.
were. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been the first person to ask the question, right?
But how about if one loses a passion, you
Yeah.
know, and is not really directing a focus on a
Yeah.
goal, and I think that's the biggest difficulty.
Yeah, it is a difficulty.
And by the way, this is what I did for a living in Napa County and Sonoma
What did you
County.
do?
It's a vocational consultant. The name of my business is J. Clark Vocational Consultant.
Wow, she's an expert, right?
Wow, and I worked with attorneys and
Physician, heal thyself.
whatever. But anyway, I've lost my passion or something.
Yeah,
here.
I know. You may need a
But
new
I'm not
one.
blaming anybody.
No, I know. You may need a new one. It's not written that you have to continue during this. Listen, I got a degree in medieval philosophy, okay? And my first job was working for Citicorp, the bank, okay? What's wrong with this picture? You have to reinvent yourself, and what was your passion may not be the future. Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss, whatever you want to call it. You got to come.
Dr. Ender said at the beginning of this
Yeah.
conversation, he said everything that he'd done throughout his life
Prepared him,
had
helped him.
prepared him, and he didn't know what his passion was going to turn out
Yeah.
to be. He just knew that the steps that he had taken, and then he got that itch for leadership.
He got that itch, and
And it went in ways that he wasn't expecting.
And
so
but-
I think God made us, and He put stuff in us.
Right.
And it shows up,
Right.
and we
You-
don't realize.
you don't know how you got there.
That 20 years ago.
Here's an interesting thing about, is his name Dr. Ender? Ender?
Yes.
Okay. Here's an interesting thing about his success narrative. He gave us a success story, right? That's a kind of a triumph narrative, you know, on and on, Horatio Alger. Good story, and undoubtedly true. But he skipped over something. Did you notice that? He said the first job that he took when he got this community, he said, oh my God, what am I doing here? He probably went to his first faculty meeting. Ay, the inmates have taken over the asylum type of thing. So I am sure if we talked to him when we had a beer with him or something like that, he'd tell us he had some rough times with that passage. It wasn't always easy for him. And I think that's important for us to come clean about that. That's why I said to you, group, I said, I was fired once, totally unexpectedly, lost my job. Very embarrassing, okay? So people need to hear the downside. It isn't just one big success story, onward and upward. No, not true. But people can make it, but not alone. Entrepreneurship, lifelong learning, social network, social connection. Yes, sir.
What trends do you see in terms of older adults being employed in the future?
I see it as a big problem right now because the data suggests that if you can stay in your job, you're likely to hold on to it longer because of seniority, okay? But once you lose it, you're likely to be unemployed much longer, much longer. So that's a reality right now. In terms of the future, we don't really know, but we got to look to the areas where there are the opportunities. Peter Drucker, one of my heroes, said, feed the opportunities, starve the problems. So you need to be looking at those silver industries and the other places where the hiring is going to happen, if not now, then a year or two from now. And you got to be positioning yourself for that. There is no guarantee that it will work. Absolutely none. That's why it requires the leap of faith. There are no guarantees in life. You know that. But this at least gives hope. Comments, questions?
Real quick.
Hey, I love you. You're asking all the right questions.
One of the obstacles I've had here is
Yeah.
that, and this is what I used to do in the Bay Area, is transferable skills.
Transferable skills.
And nobody seems to know what that is here.
Yeah.
And so where does one's skills transfer in this labor market?
You see, here's the problem. If I were to tell the guys at Citibank, Citicorp, oh, I'm a medieval philosopher, that's not a transferable skill. But writing is a transferable skill, okay? And so you need to ask yourself those questions of what do you really know? This is what the work search tool can help you do, by the way, okay? You may have skills you don't even know that you have them. You have strengths that you don't even. The movie It's a Wonderful Life, what's it all about? He didn't even know how good he was, Jimmy Stewart, in that movie, George Bailey. We don't know our own weaknesses, and we also don't know our own strengths. And both are surprises. Both are surprises. So
we don't know the labor market.
no, we don't. That too. And by the way, that's always changing constantly as well. Comments or questions? Yes.
Before I came to this wonderful talk you gave, I looked at the front page of the paper tonight, and it doesn't look good for our hospitals.
For the hospitals.
And if I'm going to work in the medical, in a health field, who's going to hire me? I mean, a lot of our nursing homes are tied to Spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Logic,
big
whatever.
employer. Right.
I mean, I was a nurse's aide before it was a certification, and I left to do something else, which didn't pan out, and now I can't get back into the field unless I have the bucks to become certified.
Right, and you have to be very careful before spending a lot of money
Right.
for certification of anything, by the way. And that's why, despite what I've said about entrepreneurship, we encourage people to be very cautious before they buy that Dunkin' Donuts franchise or blow their 401k plan on money like that, and ditto for certification. At the same time, I think if we've learned anything over the last year, we've learned two things. Diversification is good, but diversification is no guarantee. So no matter how diversified you were, bonds, stock, real estate, they all went down, okay? So there's no guarantee that Spectrum or Humana or any number of other hospitals are going to be your employer, all right? The only thing we can be reasonably confident about is that those 10,000 boomers who turn 60 every year, all right? Here's a prediction for you. This just in. You just heard it from me. 10 years from now, 9,500 boomers will turn 70 every day, excuse me. Why where are those other 500? Well, they died, okay? All right? Yes, this just in, you heard it from me. All right, they're gone, all right. But there's going to be still a bunch of them, that's how the insurance business works, who are going to be turning 70, and guess what? They're going to have some problems. Just like I got some problems, okay? And they're going to need health care. So the numbers are helpful to know, But it's not helpful to know whether Spectrum is hiring because you don't know that yet. You can't know that. In the back of the room, there's somebody else. And I know we got to quit now. This town meeting is turning into a prayer meeting, and we're all...
This will be our last
question.
Okay?
Got to go to sleep and get on the plane to New York tomorrow.
With the silver industry of healthcare, I experience a lot of ageism
Oh, yes.
discrimination here in Grand Rapids.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's booming. There are some glitches, as this
Yeah.
young lady has stated.
Yes.
But in the meantime, I've lost my job, and so I need to have benefits, and
Right.
so that's what I keep running into.
And by benefits,
Everybody's looking at the resume.
and by benefits, you're talking health care
Benefits, I mean,
number
healthcare,
one, right?
yeah.
Okay.
And
With-
so
Yeah.
they don't want you, I don't know what the reason is, because I'm wonderful, but I just think that.
Don't take it personally.
There's an age factor that they want right out of school if it's nursing.
They're cheaper.
I was even told that. We can get 2 for one of you.
Yeah.
And so when we're in this dire straits, okay, give me the 10 and give me some benefits, and I'll survive. I'll shift the paradigm or whatever you're saying.
I do not have the magic bullet, and there is no magic bullet, and there is no
So
magic
that's just
solution.
something you have to put up with.
No. Number one, we are working night and day at AARP to try to help solve this health care insurance. I spend most of my time on that problem. Not with great success, by the way, all right? But the game is not over. The opera isn't over till the fat lady sings, okay? The game is not over till it's over, Yogi Berra. Okay, it's not over. And by the way, even when it's over, it's not going to be over because we're going to be struggling with this for years. So it's not something you can solve as an individual, that health care.
That's a meantime thing because
Right.
in the meantime, I did start a business. I am looking forward to what baby boomers will
Right.
need in healthcare
Right.
and something to take care of myself. But even that's if you're unemployed and you're self-employed, you're employed. So
Yes.
there's a lot of trails that you have to travel.
There's a lot of
to
trails you
make
have to
this
travel.
transition work. So.
I am not here to give false reassurance. I will tell you this, that people are self-employed in many different ways, including on eBay, including in garage sales, including as, quote, consultants, and all kinds of strange things that are not what we call entrepreneurship. But they make do, they try to get through, and then they redescribe it as something else on their resume. You know that. You do the best you can. Every one of us does the best we can.
Speaking of the best.
The best?
Wow, huh?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Rick, thank you very much. Terrific. Thank you. Right on the money. I want to especially thank Dr. Moody for being here because what many of you may not realize, we did not pay him to come here.
I'm free and
He
it's
came
worth
on his
every penny
own.
you paid me, right? Okay.
He came here because he wanted to be here in Grand Rapids, in Michigan, and he wanted to share this message.
Yeah, I went to New Orleans right after Hurricane Katrina because they had problems there too. So you were at ground zero, and that's the reason why I wanted to come here, because I know you got trouble.
So we appreciate you. Thank you very much. I know that many of you still have questions, and hopefully Rick's going to hang around a little bit.
I'm hanging. I'm in
You'll
there.
see him afterwards. Also, but so that we can continue on our agenda, just to give you a little break, please don't leave the room if you don't have to. If you have to, that's fine. Come back.
Go to the bathroom.
If you could just stand up and stretch a little bit, and I'll ask our 4 panelists, community resource panelists, to come up front now while the group stretches.
Yeah.
And get into position. The next item on the agenda is our community resource panel, and these individuals are here to share some of the resources available here in our community, hopefully to help you. Get started so that we have time for the panel. I hope you were as inspired as I was by Dr. Moody. I can say that I've heard him speak a number of times, but this was definitely his A game. He brought us his A game, and I was very inspired by it. I hope you were as well. And now I think the nuts and bolts piece which you need, and that is what kinds of resources are there here in the community to try to support you in your effort. As Dr. Moody said, there is not a magic bullet. Wish there was. If there was, we'd make it available. But We want you to learn what is available and try to make those things available to you. So I've invited 4 panelists this evening to come talk to us about what they offer. And I'm going to ask each panelist to introduce themselves and then give us about 10 minutes approximately about the services and programs they offer that you might be interested in. In the end, we'll save a little bit of time for question and answer. So why don't we start on the end with, well, go ahead, Paul.
Good evening. I just want to say I'm certainly happy to see so many out, and Dr. Moody gave us, I think, a tremendous look at some of the things that I think a lot of us have already knew a little bit about, but he gave us a lot more specificity there. I'm Paul Pfeiffer. I direct career development services here at Grand Rapids Community College. Our services basically are for prospective students, for community residents, for alumni, staff, administration. Basically, whoever comes to our office, we try to assist them. And what do we assist them with? We primarily help people to really establish direction, maintain that direction, hopefully, expose them to the ways that they could do that, restore direction, and basically whatever it takes for them so that they could begin to make what we call wise or better decisions in their life. And we call it career development, but it's really life development. And community residents, certainly, and we work with agencies, I should mention too, when they come for 2 main reasons, I think, or one of 2 main reasons. One could have to do with balance. Something has happened that has really thrown off the balance in major roles. It could be home life, it could be the worker role, and or it's direction in life. And sometimes people will come for both of those. What we do is we say, we can assist you in a lot of ways, but it really has to be a person who's at a point where he or she believes, I want to do something and or experience something different than what I wanted to do or experience before they came to see us. We always tell people, if you don't want to do or experience something different than what you did or experienced before you came into our office, you don't need to see us because you already are where you want to be. The big word is called change. And sometimes people just want to make sure that's not too fast, it's not too slow, it's kind of like just right. And for every one of us, we're like flowers or we're like a fingerprint, we're all unique, so that change would be catered to you. What do? We can assist you with that kind of help of direction and or balance. We can do that one-on-one. We can do that in seminars. We can do that in workshops. We can do that in career classes. I teach 2 career classes myself. One is a very intense 8-hour, 8-hour day class. It's really to the point. It's how to make good decisions. Another one is a 7-week class, and it's really career decision-making and placement, which goes into, the job search and so on. We can do that any way we think we can do it to assist you. So I won't go into all the details on that because any of you can call. And Teresa Freiberg is our Global Career Development Facilitator. She would be the one to speak with you and give you the options. Some of you may just want to come down and explore. What about the work world? What about how do I explore online? How do I explore offline? How do I really find information? Because this is new. I just got downsized, right-sized, outsized, whatever. We do have a brand new, we're in Sneeden Hall right now, which is the old Davenport campus. We have actually an expanded space so that we're kind of like a little bit more high-tech, where you can come in and you can do exploration. We kind of hold your hand if you need it, but if you're really good at it, we'll just put you in there so that you can do that. We have a DVD career video kind of a small library where you can actually look at certain things that would assist you with self-assessment, assist you with job search, with interview kinds of things. So we have a lot of things now that we didn't have even last year. And if you ask about price, for all of you, any community resident can come in the first session. If it's a one-on-one, it's free. You don't have to worry about that. All of our workshops, even though we have a fee on the career development workshop of $50, if you can't afford it, we will waive it. We have never turned a person away. So never let that be a blockage for you, because our job is to help you to make sure that you're making not only the decision that you want to make, but You want to make sure that you're plugging that in so that you're moving in the direction that you want. Believe it or not, many of our clients are 50 plus, and we're getting more and more 50 plus. And we don't really use the word retirement, we use transition. You were just moving from one thing to another. So that's all I really want to say right now. There are some new things coming up, or some workshops coming up right now. One is, how do I prepare for times such as these? You'll see that 4 or 5 times a year. It's a free one. It's coming up November 10th, so all of you, you're welcome to come. There are career direction workshops coming up. We have that out on the table. You're welcome to come. We have a little brochure called Stop, which tells you the 6 or 7 different options at our college that you can really become involved in. So that's all I want to say right now. I'm just saying that take advantage of it. Don't think that you're too old. You're not too old if you're not dead. Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Sherry Woolley with the Area Agency on Aging of Western Michigan with the Senior Community Service Employment Program, also called Title V. Basically, the program that I operate is a Department of Labor grant, and it provides a paid work training experience to seniors who are looking to enter the workforce or return to the workforce, but need an opportunity to either learn new and different skills or to refresh skills from the past to help them be more competitive in the job market. Under this grant, persons who are eligible must be at least 55 years old, unemployed, reside in an eligible county, which Kent is, and be low income. This program offers an experiential learning opportunity, a paid work training experience in a nonprofit community service organization in the community, and often combined with classroom education as well. One of the common things I'm asked for is to update or learn computer skills, so important for both the job search and virtually all employment these days. The Title V program will offer the opportunity to learn skills, to build your own self-confidence, to reestablish some current work references and build a work network. Assistance finding employment after you have become job ready. So there are many positive aspects of this program. If you're someone who is looking to enter the workforce, this may be something that would be helpful to you. In my experience, I've worked with youth job seekers, older workers, ex-offenders, people who have been fired, who mentioned that. Almost everyone has some kind of barrier to employment. Virtually no one has the perfect record. The idea is how you're going to present it and how you're going to overcome it. There are many employers who are interested in the older worker and the many positives that you have to offer. And so I want to assure you that, that there is a job market for you, and that I would be happy to work with you in my particular program. And I guess that's all I'd like to explain at the moment, but happy to talk in more detail later about this particular program.
Thank you. You guys hear me? Is it on? Okay, I'm going to pull it a little closer. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Becca Dernberger, and I'm the Vice President of Manpower of the Central Northeast Division, which is Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. So that's a tough economy. As you said, Michigan is ground zero, and it's very similar throughout the Midwest. The good news is Manpower is, am I on? Okay. Let me just talk. Okay. Manpower can be a leading indicator with the economy. We're usually the first ones out as far as when things start in a downward trend. They say, okay, you know, the temporary employees, supplemental staffing, contract workers, time to let them go. But we're also the first ones to come back in, because before companies start to hire, they say, let's bring temporaries in, let's bring contracts, and we are busy. We are picking up. So the good news is that leading indicator is going in the right direction finally. In Kent and Ottawa County, we have over 2,000 people working right now, and that's happened in the last 4 to 5 months, so probably in the last 3 months. There's 3 people right under the clock. If you guys could just raise your hand. We would love to talk to you afterwards if you have any help that you need. Manpower has permanent work, we have temporary work, we have contract work, we have training, so there's just oodles and oodles of resources that we have, and we are looking for people. Some of the things that I just wanted to share with you in my few minutes is 4 main points as you're looking for work, and what I share with people when they come in and talk to us about work. Number 1 is the opportunity that exists. Number 2 is how to approach the job market, not only as an aging workforce, but how anybody should approach the job market. Advantages that the aging demographic has, because there are many. And our speaker shared many of those, and they're so true and they're so real. And then also some next steps to take. So opportunities that exist. There is a talent shortage. This recession has masked this talent shortage. And all of us that are up here are here to help you win that, be able to present yourself to those employers. Every worker will be so vital in this downturn. Between 2025 and 2030, which is a ways away, but there will be 12 million people that will exit the global workforce. And that combination comes from populations that are aging rapidly and the birth rate that is declining. So great opportunity that's out there. So now is a great time to be having these conversations on what do you want to do. The other opportunity is that the workplace trends mirror the goals of many of the mature workers. Project work, part-time work, flexibility, working from home, again, that different paradigm. And what the other thing that I thought was interesting, when you look at the traditional workforce that the speaker put up as far as what older workers want, that also is what the younger generation wants. They aren't as consumer driven as all of us were. They do want a simpler lifestyle. So there's some great continuity, I think, that is happening with the 2 different generations. So second point, approaching the job market. To me, and maybe it's easy for me to say this, but age isn't an issue. And I know I'm not looking for work right now, and I know that it is sometimes probably feels that way, but I just want to share one scenario with you because I think it's more attitude and skill. I was looking for a person, a service rep type of position, and I had interviews all morning, but the way the schedule was, I had to start these interviews at 6:30 in the morning, which is early. And the first person who came in, he was in his mid-40s, and he walked in complaining about how early it was. Oh, I'm usually in the shower right now. I can't believe that I had to come in this early. So that set the tone, And then the next interview was a 20-year-old who was just so excited to be there. I think he'd been drinking coffee for the past 3 hours, but was just so energetic. And that had nothing to do with age, and ended up not hiring either of them for many different reasons. But I wasn't looking at their age. I was looking at their attitude, their energy level, and their skill level. So again, I'm not looking for work right now, so you're probably all rolling your eyes saying, yeah, right. But please remember that as an interviewer, it's skill, and it's, do you have the skill set that I'm looking for? So exuding energy, spirit. On your resume, resumes are so different right now. They are results resume. It's not so much that you maybe managed a call center or you managed a production line. It's that you saved this company X amount of money year over year. It's measurable results. That's what employers want to see right now. And it's a different kind of resume, and all of us from Manpower would be more than happy to help you with your resume, because it really is important to not just what you did, but what you did. And hopefully you make that connection that is the results. And show a desire to grow. Show that you want new opportunities. And then some advantages that I feel so passionately about, because I think it's real. Number 1, the older workforce has great experience, very good communication skills. Like you said, you know what, even though we're scared sometimes, we're pretty comfortable with communication and sharing our opinions. ability to work with various populations, being teachers within the workforce. I think that's a huge opportunity. Fewer outside distractions and can be more focused than maybe the younger group of people. And life perspectives, you can more easily roll with things. So some to-dos: embrace technology. Very few jobs are out there that don't require technology. You must be able to keep up on the skills, and I'm sure all of us up here as well as Manpower can help with that training. Be a lifelong learner. Be open to reskilling and retooling yourself. Reflect a healthy and high energy lifestyle. Look at life experiences as a huge advantage and play up on those experiences as strengths. And the social network. And with those, I am talking about not only your community network, but Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. That's where jobs are happening. We've got a manager in our north who, when she's looking for positions, she puts it on her Facebook status, trying to find 10 data entry operators. She's got, a couple hundred friends, and that network goes out like that because people are checking their Facebook. And it's an awesome way. I've got a brother-in-law who's looking for work, and on his status, just got laid off looking for work. And then he's got high school friends, college friends that know him and want to help him. So don't be afraid to use that. So lastly, Manpower employs over 5 million people on an annual basis. We're experts in the world of work, and to me, attitude and skill trump anything else. So thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Parks. I'm here from Grand Rapids Community College. I'm the Director of Workforce Training. I'm lucky to get to work very closely with the Older Learner Center and Mike Faber. And what an opportunity that Mike and his team were able to put together this year. They won a grant from MetLife and Civic Ventures called Encore Careers. Did I say it right, Mike? Okay. What this does, this grant allows people to come in and for no charge to receive training in resumes, in interviewing processes, some basic skill level focused on the healthcare arena. He's sitting there so nervous that I'm going to say something wrong. Don't worry, Mike. And a lot of it does technology skills, computer, and we're hoping to help Mike add some of the social networking, online technology to a part of that. Mike's very excited to add those, I can tell. So if you are interested, if you would like to take advantage of this grant program that Mike obtained, there's applications out at the table right outside the door. And I urge you to fill those out quickly. There are a limited number of people. Not everyone who signs up is going to be able to be a part of this first group. We hope to grow this grant. It's in a trial, test phase, and we think it'll make a big difference in the community and give you some opportunities. My department is also the home of Ed2Go. Rick, if you could add us to your slide, Grand Rapids Community College, give us a little publicity, we'll take it. There are little flyers on information for $49 to be able to take the Making Age an Asset class. I highly recommend it. I went through a little sample of it to help myself, and it was very interesting, very well done class. So can use some of those skills. Also at the college in the area that I work in, we work extensively with employers and economic developers. And so it's a rough world out there. We're working very hard. Your economic developers in this area are working very hard to bring new industries to this area. So what I know is if you have interest in alternative energy fields, if you don't know much about wind power or solar power, or you don't know what biomass is, I urge you to come to some seminars at this college to learn what that is. I believe a lot of you, if you were former engineers, if you worked in a manufacturing shop, there are skills that you already know that you can apply to this area. There's a great opportunity for entrepreneurship in this area. It's not a hippie area to study. It's very worthwhile to learn about, personally and for the future job market. You read in the paper today about Spectrum Health. Well, I'll tell you, you still have a lot of opportunity in healthcare. We have a lot of training that can help you. If you started, for instance, in the Encore grant program, you would probably be a good fit to some of our training in pharmacy technician, entry-level, medical, patient registration, medical database, informatics. I don't know if you've heard of that. You know, the president just gave billions of dollars to put medical records, make them electronic. So let us train you. Those are fields that you can participate in the future. There are a lot of opportunities, skill-based opportunities. You never are going to be able to stop learning again. Like Rick said about your degree is great. My degree was in history, Latin American history. Very useful degree. But you never know the different paths that your life is going to take. So what do I do now? Now I have to take different skill building. I have to learn a lot about statistics that I had never had to know before. I had to learn a lot more about technology than I ever had to know. We have opportunities for you to do that at this college. This is your college in the community. Take advantage of your college. He told you to watch where you spend your money on training and certifications. I cannot echo that louder, stronger to you. Think about where you're getting your education. Think about, if I take that certification program at GRCC, does it get me anything more than if I take it at ITT Technical? Well, yeah, we're going to save you a lot of money, and I'm going to tell you that I'm working really hard to articulate that non-credit into credit. So now if you're ready to come back and get maybe an associate's degree, a renewable energy associate's degree, I'm going to work really hard that the training program we put you through is going to articulate you're not going to have to relearn those skills. So we have a strong commitment to you. We're working hard to try to find new industries, new areas. They're going to come the next 2 years, 3 years. Entrepreneurship. Can't tell you, there's so many opportunities in entrepreneurship for you to work out of your home to do. And so I encourage you to take advantage of the things, the grants that we're working hard to get for you. Stop at the table, pick up flyers. You're confused, you're not sure what to do. Paul and the operation that they run in career development, every person that works for me on my staff has gone through that. So one, we can understand what it is, and two, we can plan for our own careers and our own lifelong learning. And so I encourage you to do that. My card is out at the table, and I would be happy to email you or talk to you. One thing I want to tell you is between 8 and 5, I am rarely in my office. My job is to be out with employers and to be out in the economic development arena. I will call you back. It may be at night. It may be on Saturday morning, but I will call you or email you back. So please engage your resources, engage the people up here that told you what they have to offer. Don't give up hope. There's a lot that you can offer, and thanks for coming tonight.
Okay, so we have plenty of time left. So if you have any questions or comments for our panelists, here is your opportunity. Also, just so I don't forget, after we're done this evening, we will be at the vendor tables for a little while afterwards as well to pick up all these materials you've heard about. I saw a hand over here. I'm going to run this way. Oh, no, I got to get my exercise, right? Okay.
I wish I could run that way, Mike. I can't. And that segues into my question for Ms. Momber, and really all of you.
You're Ms. Momber.
Yeah, you make an assumption that all of us, as we get older, have a lot of energy and no chronic illness, no disability. And I want to know what's out there for someone who has disability and advanced stage, they call it, I guess.
No, that's a very, very good question. And Manpower has a global diversity officer who is fantastic, and that is a very large demographic that is growing. And making some work to make sure that we tap into that talent pool. And and this is just off the top of my head, this isn't necessarily from her, but there's a huge growth in call centers right now. So I guess it would depend on what your disability is, number one. But there's a growth in call centers, and I know in the Lakeshore as well as over here, there's companies that are looking at this area for that, and I think it's because of our neutral accent, and it's kind of the culture of, to me, what I had said to the call center, it fits into our community very well for working moms that want to be home with their kids during the day and work at night. So anyway, so yeah, I guess it would depend on what the disability is, but there are some really, really creative programs. There's one out in California that took a group of hearing impaired people to help them with printed circuit board manufacturing. Fantastic program. It just was so successful because it looked at the skill set of what they can do, what's the work, and then they made that match, and then It's just always very, very successful programs.
Any other questions, comments? There must be more here.
My name is Ricardo Rios, and I am Hispanic, Latino, however you want to define me, although I've been told I don't look Hispanic or Latino. But take my word for it. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. But anyhow, I have a tendency to gravitate to some Latinos in the area. I've been involved through volunteer services, and I've also taught or helped in English as a second language. And I have a tendency to encounter a lot of different individuals that, because of their minimal English fluency, that have difficulties. They're underemployed. A lot of them are flying underneath the radar. And what does the college or your services provide in trying to identify some of these individuals that with some extra help might be able to do a really, really good job for our community?
You want to go ahead? Okay, then I'll help you out.
For one, we do have Hispanic counselors and so on our staff, so that's one thing that we do to reach out. But a lot of our materials, too, coming from where we go, direction and purpose and making sure that people have a template so they know where they're going. We do have some instruments that are in Spanish, so that they can do that. We have some that are nonverbal whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I have one assessment where, they just look at pictures. So we try to address those as much as we can. So I think that it all depends on each individual again, where is their level of, communication and so on. We haven't really experienced a whole lot of complaints in that area. We think that we're making headway, but I do know that there are 2 or 3 on staff that I work with quite a bit who are Hispanic counselors who we work sometimes when I can't quite move where I want to go. We partner up and do something with that. So it all depends on that particular person, though. We know that we have some other steps to take to get closer to that, but I think that we're doing fairly well with that at this point. I don't know if Julie wants to say a few things about it.
The college offers ESL services. We team with the Literacy Center. Our learning corners on the west side of the city and on Wealthy Street. We have some grant programs that may work to the advantage of that population. We also participate with the Hispanic Center, and we'll be at an event next Saturday that they're doing for businesses or people interested in entrepreneurship. So we continue to reach out to different groups and to serve the community in the best way that we can. So we always welcome advice and feedback about ways we could do that better. And so I would welcome to talk to you afterward if you have some ideas. That would be terrific.
The Senior Community Service Employment Program has a number of Hispanic participants in training. And generally, there's both an organization that I work with, since I'm not Spanish speaking, or arrange interpreters for visits with clients to assist them in understanding the program and the application process. I've experienced no difficulty in placing Spanish-speaking trainees in nonprofit community service organizations, and their employment prospects are extremely good. They are in demand. They may not be connecting with the right person or employment opportunity, but they are in demand. And one of the things I was going to say earlier is that the best weapon to fight ageism in the employment marketplace is competitive skills that other people do not have. So it becomes a contest of candidates. Who has the best skills? And the person who has bilingual skills, if they're desiring something of that nature in the job description, it will not matter if they are 25, 55, or 85. They are very much needed, particularly in the nonprofit arena delivering services, and in the medical field as well. People to act as interpreters and things of that nature if they have basic medical terminology and are fluently bilingual. So I don't think that's a barrier, and for many opportunities that I have for people, it's actually a plus. So I'll just add that.
I am a Spanish interpreter, by the way.
Fabulous, fabulous. So you second
Who's
my story.
next? Someone way in the back there. All right.
Julie, you had mentioned a application for some of the grant money. Was that the Encore application you were talking about? You had one?
Yes, that's correct. And they're right at the tables right outside the doors.
It's at the Older Learner Center table as you go out into the hallway on your left, first table on your left. And you can complete that application tonight if you'd like.
In addition to Mike's grant, the Encore grant, the Older Learner Center also offers several senior health, senior fitness, computer club, all kinds of events here on campus. You can go to the website, grcclearn.com, for more information. Click on the Older Learner Center.
There are other
Yes.
opportunities outside of Spectrum, okay? And even Spectrum, they may have their current dilemma, but we know that they're in the process of building 4 huge new buildings on the hill that in the next 2 years they're going to have to staff when they open. So, you know, again, sometimes we have to look not only short term, but a little bit longer short term. Part of the reason we're looking at the healthcare is Civic Ventures MetLife, when they wrote the RFP, which means request for proposal, they had identified only 4 or 5 areas that you had to pick from in terms of the areas you wanted to look at for Encore Careers. And the one that made the most sense for our economy here in Grand Rapids was healthcare. So part of what we're trying to do, it's really a preparatory program, and it's really important you note that. So if you're someone with a lot of education, a huge skill set, perhaps who's worked in the field, it probably is not the right program for you. If you're someone with a GED or high school diploma who perhaps came out of manufacturing and had very little other work experience and you want to try something different, this is probably an excellent program for you because it has basic skills that you need to, one, either go into a further training program or go directly into an entry-level position in healthcare. In some areas like home health care, there are still jobs. They may not be full-time. There might be other kinds of barriers, but what we're trying to do simultaneously at the same time we're developing the curriculum for this program is we're trying to partner with these healthcare organizations in the community, train them on the value of hiring and retaining individuals who are 50 and older, and try to have them see the value of the people who are going to come through our program. So we're trying to do 2 things at once. Not only provide this preparatory program, which will be 40 hours in length over a 5-week period, but also to work with these employers to identify opportunities. And a good example of that is Manpower, and they are one of the partners in that project, and the Area Agency on Aging and the Title V program that Sherry represents. So we're not promising a magic bullet, but we are trying to provide people with at least the basic level skills they're going to need to make that next step, whether it's further training and education or directly into an entry-level position. Because even those entry-level jobs now are highly competitive. And you got to have something that makes you special and that gives you that edge. And we're trying to develop that. So that's what we're working on. It is a pilot, which means we're trying something new to see if we can make it work. If we can make it work, you know, then we're going to go after other avenues potentially for funding and ways to sustain the program so that we can continue it. But right now, it's only a 1-year program. We're only going to be able to put 50 people through the program, 25 in the first session that will be held in October and November of this year, and 25 in the session that will be held in February and March. What we ask you to do, if you're interested, is that you complete the application, and because that first session starts later in October, not that far away, we ask you to complete that as soon as possible, if at all possible tonight. And we're going to basically be inviting the 25 people into that program. It will be through, there will be a screening process in that application, is that because we want to get the 25 people who have the best chance of success in this particular program. Okay, so I just encourage you to try, to put in an application and to consider it if you're interested in working with people and potentially in healthcare. It's not the only answer, like the Making Age an Asset Ed2Go program, but it is one option for people, and we are fortunate to have the grant here so that we can do it. Now, were there other questions? Okay, coming up here.
You know, I'd like to add to what you were saying about the healthcare industry. You know, if anyone's driven down Plainfield by Metro, they had a huge sign saying, now hiring 100 LPNs and RNs and nursing staff, 100. And that was in the last 4 days. There's also convalescent homes. And I know that when I was a vocational consultant in California, very pricey place to live. The individuals that went through the medical training, they ended up making like $25 an hour, you know, so I don't know, it's just, I don't think it's going to go out. We've got baby boomers that are growing old. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. She's a great promoter, isn't she? We got to give her a marketing job. I'm going to give, and if anyone has a question, think about it. I'm going to give the microphone, though, to Jacqueline from AARP Michigan, so she can talk a little bit about something that you want to share with everyone.
Good evening. I just wanted to commend my friend Mike Faber for this program. Let's give him a round of applause before we go home. AARP Michigan last year worked with Mike Faber for the first time to help get this information to our members, and it was a wonderful thing. And what has happened here tonight is very exciting. I just want to let you know that AARP Michigan does have an information table outside, and I encourage you to stop by and pick up that information. If any of you are members, I thank you for your membership. Renew it, because we are working hard to develop new materials and resources to help along this journey for baby boomers and up in terms of connecting with our purpose, retooling and reskilling for work after retirement and work before retirement. So in Lansing, where our state office is, we work very hard as an advocate for you, for 50-plus workers. Our lead volunteer, and we work as volunteers and staff, our lead volunteer, Tom Kimball, is on the Governor's Council for Energy, Labor, and Economic Growth as a voice for you. And he was recently made the chair of the Committee to Maximize System Effectiveness, or something big and important like that. But what they're doing, basically, is looking at the whole state's mechanism for serving its employees and preparing them for the future careers. And he is, believe me, a very strong advocate for you in that regard. And we look forward to things happening in our state that will enhance the value of community colleges. What's happening here in Grand Rapids should be happening all over the state, and believe me, it's not. You're very, very fortunate to have this community college doing what it's doing for you, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. If you're not a member of AARP, I have a little card on that table where you get a discount membership. You just call that 1-800 number and you get a discount. Visit our website at aarp.org. We will be in the next year doing many webinars that will help you connect with information and connect with people. If you'd like to volunteer with us, what we'd like to do is enhance your ability to do the social networking, to get together in ways that we can meet each other, learn each other, what we have to offer, and support each other in this journey. It's really revolutionary what's happening here. Our generation, we are reinventing this whole thing called work and retirement. We really are, for ourselves and for future generations. So think of yourselves as pioneers. There are opportunities. Prepare yourself for them. If you think of ways that AARP Michigan can help you in Lansing as an advocate, give us a call, because that's why we're there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. We have a couple more minutes. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, I want to thank you for being here. You know, you put something together and sometimes you don't know if anyone's going to show up. I know that parking can be a challenge. I know that for many of you, you have a competing interests in your life. So it means a lot to us that you spent a couple of hours here with us tonight. Know that, again, this community college is your community college, and we are trying the best we can to address whatever needs and issues that there are in our community, and this is a very important issue. Unfortunately, it's a huge job, and there's very little money, as you know, but we'll continue to do what we can for you. So I'd like to ask you to applaud one more time for our panelists and for Dr. Moody. Terrific job tonight. Now, I have one piece of work I do expect from you, and that is the evaluation that you received on the way in. If you didn't get one, they're on the table in the back. Please complete this evaluation. The feedback is important to us. We need to know if we hit the mark or if we missed the mark, you know, what you might be interested in for the future. Leave it on the back table for us. Also, reminder, if you're parked in the ramp across the street, the student ramp across the street, if you don't have a voucher yet, see Eric. Eric has a pile of them there because you won't get out without it. And use these last few minutes to visit the tables out there and get a little more information or talk to folks while they're still here. So thank you and have a wonderful evening.